ready for a long one. So about 2 years ago I, F34YRS, found out my BF, M35YRS, had been subscribing to X site for sharing photos of, for 6 months or so. One of the pages he subscribed to was a girl he had dated and slept with briefly, before we met. He had been messaging several different of accounts, and even asked one if she would consider making video with a fan. At the time we weren't having regular closeness. Thus was an issue for me, and I had been asking if there was anything we could do to help, asked if he had any fantasies or wanted to watch X movies etc. He just kept saying he was tired, there was no issue, and he wasn't into X movies. He was pretty vanilla on the bedroom front, so I kind of bought this story. This went on for about 3 months. I asked several times if anything was wrong, was there someone else etc. Then one night the urge came over me to look at his phone. Specifically his internet history, and boom, there it was, his only F account with all his subscriptions and DMs. I thought I was going to faint. I looked myself in the bathroom, and he asked if I had been looking at his phone. He obviously had unlocked it, and it was the first thing that appeared. We had a discussion and I asked to see his phone again, and go through everything, and he refused. He made a disclosure about childhood trauma and blamed this, saying he didn't know what was going on. I was hurt. Confused, furious. He had been cheating as far as I was concerned. He had lied and lied about it, and had at times borrowed small amounts of money from me, because his salary isn't great, but yet was spending money on this. His key line was he didn't think about what he was doing, and for a good while he said he didn't see it as cheating. Is it cheating? I consider it infidelity, as he lied about it, kept it a secret, and hello, he previously slept with one of the girls he was subscribed to and was messaging her. So anyhow, we worked things out, and he said he would go for counseling to deal with childhood trauma, and then we would go for couples counseling. He did a few sessions but never really committed, and the couples counseling was put on hold until he sorted his stuff out. He said he couldn't do both, he needed to focus on his stuff first. In the meantime, we bought a house. Things were improving and I was beginning to trust him again, and it was a now or never moment. It initially felt great. Until last summer, a little over a year after I last confronted him, I discovered he was secretly watching X movies. Again, closeness had faded and I felt he was just not being upfront about things, so I started asking if there was anything going on. Eventually, after a few weeks, he admitted he was watching X movies, but not via of. Oh well. That's fine, but I wish you would have told me. We could have watched together maybe. But no. It wasn't just X movies. He was also visiting his ex's Twitter and other online accounts to look at her pics. These pages promote her of account, so the posts are very explicit, but still he wasn't visiting her of account. In his mind this was a great thing, he had stayed away from of like he said he would. So what's my problem? At least that's what it felt like his attitude was. I lost it. I just gave up inside. I can't bear the lying. I hate that I've to almost force the truth out of him over a prolonged period. It's so emotionally draining. Typically then he will bring up the childhood trauma, and I'm forced to put my feelings on hold cause he can't deal with anything else. He has also said he was thinking about ending life a lot. So I said fine. I told him, you get your counseling, and we will then reassess, maybe do couples counseling. So for the last 4 months or so, he did get counseling for himself. I've no idea how it went really. He doesn't share that with me. When I try to talk to him I'm told it's not the time, he's not able etc. His own counseling has recently concluded, and we are meant to be trying couples counseling in the next 4 weeks. At this point I feel done. If we didn't have a house together, I would have left him, I think. My self-confidence has taken a serious dive as a result of his actions, and I probably need my own counseling, but I've been so busy with my job and the house renovations I haven't had time to book therapy for me. I think I'm also afraid that if I stop to think about it all I will fall apart. I can't afford that right now. I love this guy. I saw a future together, and I feel like he has ripped my heart out and stomped all over it, twice. I feel like I can't believe him, and he knows it. I think he is still visiting her sites etc, I don't know for sure. He also has some health issues, hernia or something similar, so there's no closeness. It is really hard for me. We have a good friendship. Like we cohabit successfully probably because we don't have meaningful conversations anymore. But then when we have to go to something as a couple, I am just filled with hurt and rage and jealousy, and it's awful. I know I'm not perfect, but before the first betrayal, I was loving and caring, and I was adventurous in the bedroom. I was the one that felt like it wasn't frequent enough, or was frustrated by how vanilla he was. I felt like I could trust him, and I never felt insecure in our relationship prior to the first discovery. It was such a lovely relationship, I felt we could talk honestly, and we had shared values. Since the second discovery, I feel so empty, when I'm not filled with doubt and rage. I feel tricked. He was so devious in trying to cover his lies the second time around, and has continuously lied to me. I don't trust him anymore, and I don't like how I'll feel when we go somewhere as a couple. The house renovation is still ongoing, and I feel he is hanging on until that's done. There's an element of a martyr with him almost, when we talk of splitting. He might say he will stay on and finish the house renovations for me, and then go away. I feel sometimes away is code for ending. The house is a bit complicated as he did not have great savings, so I put down the deposit for the house. He splits the mortgage payments. Typing this, I seeing loads of red flags, and I feel I was so stupid and gullible. I'm going to go to couples counseling in the hopes that I might get some answers, or at least it might assist with a civilized breakup. I feel that he still thinks what he did wasn't cheating. He didn't physically meet or sleep with someone else. I feel it is cheating. I ghosted my cheating wife, who was begging me to forgive her after she did it with her ex just because it was once. The wound is still fresh as this happened Memorial Day weekend, and I found out about it just 2 days ago. Be warned, this may be a bit on the long side. My friend I'm currently crashing on the couch have directed me to this sub as a place to vent and get insight on my situation. My wife Mary and I have been together 6 years, married for 4 of them. We met at the tail end of our time in college. She had months prior gotten out of a relationship, whereas I have never been in an actual relationship to that point. I was a player, or a duck boy as they call them these days. I admit that in my later teens, well, into my 20s before I met her, I played the field. When we started dating officially, she knew well of my body count because a couple of associates were among the numbers. She's only had 2 sexual partners aside from me, the guy she dated in college for 2 years before she met me, and her HS boyfriend Nate, who happens to be the guy she cheated on me with. I'll spare you the life story of our marriage. We have no kids. We both are professionals and live in an apartment here in New York. There have been 0 hiccups in our relationship. Just the usual spats married couples have. There's been no lack of intimacy, affection, or communication. This is why I'm so absolutely blindsided by this. The last couple of weeks Mary had been acting strange. She was being a lot more clingy and lovey-dovey with me than normal. She's always been an attentive woman, but it felt like she was going out of her way the last couple weeks. And it also seemed as if there was something eating her up inside, but when I asked if something was wrong she'd say it was nothing. I now know that it was anything but nothing. 2 days ago, Mary comes to me as I'm doing my evening workout and says she has something to tell me. I ask what, and she drops a nuke on me. She had sex with Nate at her parents' Memorial Day shindig in her hometown, Metuchen, New Jersey. They have this event every year, and this year I was unable to go because I had other obligations to tend to regarding my business. Turns out Nate had returned to the East Coast after being over in Japan for decades. From what she's told me about Nate, he was a military baby, and the reason they broke up is because his father ended up on a 4-year deployment to Okinawa. This was told to me early in our relationship. Nate apparently stayed in Japan for years after, and has recently returned to the US. Long story short, as she says, there was alcohol and lots of conversation of the old times. Old feelings flared up, and by evening's end she ended up back at his place where they had sex. I'm usually a calm, level-headed guy, but I admit I lost my crap. It took all I could muster not to throw her out of a window. I cursed her 50 ways to Sunday and stormed out of our apartment. I didn't even bother packing anything, I just left. She tried to beg and plead for me not to go, and made an attempt to block my way to the door, but I shoved her out of the way and slammed the door behind me. In hindsight I know that's probably going to cost me, but it is what it is. Like I said, this went down 2 days ago, and I'm presently typing this from my friend's apartment. She knows I'm here, as my friend had returned to my apartment to gather some things for me. I've completely cut contact with her, as I'm in no mental state to hear anything she has to say. So Reddit, is my marriage over? I love her with every ounce of my soul. I'd go through hell and high water for her. But this? I can't shake this. To her credit, she at least admitted to cheating on her own accord, but to all of a sudden have tingles for your first boyfriend and duck him the first day you reunite with him. Is this karma for me being a womanizer when I was young? I'm just lost, confused, hurt, and angry right now. How do I cope with this? ETA, there's a lot of comments that have been made that I don't think I'll be able to respond to all, but I want to clear up a couple of the major points. First off, regarding a post-nupt, I made that comment not in a right frame of mind. In all likelihood, it won't be needed. While my state of New York is notoriously bad for men regarding divorce, if in fact I do decide to go that route, I know Mary will not take me to the cleaners. Despite what a lot of you may think of her given the circumstances, she is not a vindictive or spiteful woman. I know a lot of you are going to fight me on that, but she's not. The next thing I want to address is the idea that this was premeditated. Today, I went over the data records on my cell phone plan, and I can confirm that the first time they communicated May 27th, 2 days before the event. There is zero communication between the two before that point, and a few texts from Nate following, that Mary never responded to. The last time he attempted to reach her was June 10th. So you can take the theory that they planned this months in advance, or have been hooking up for months and throw it out of the window. Lastly, I've taken the time over the last day to think to myself with insight from my friend what I should do next, and the next immediate move I've decided to make on the matter is get time away from all of this. I need to sort things out, so I'm taking a step back from interactions, including social media. I will post an update once I've sourced things out. To everyone who has given me good, solid advice, I thank you. For everyone who has projected their own misgivings and toxicity of their own circumstances upon my situation, maybe you need to disconnect from social media as well.